Hey guys, we are back updating the Power Rankings for Big Brother 25 during week 12. And honestly, this week was kind of slow, especially once we got the veto results. And while there were some interesting developments that happened, obviously, I feel like a lot of what will happen in the future will be dictated by what happens in the double, but we'll get to that more in a moment. But there are 8 players to talk about, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. So starting off at number 8, we have the boot from this week, and here we have Cory. And obviously Cory was pretty much doomed here. I mean, once the veto happened and Blue took herself off, he was a pretty clear target there. Not much he really could have done to save himself here, although we did see some campaigning from him. I just didn't feel like it was going to be effective, and obviously he's out of the game now. And I said this before, but I feel like Cory was definitely one of the players that I related to more coming into it. Again, one of the bigger super fans, someone that can be pretty socially awkward, but someone that can still kind of endear himself to people once he got to know them a bit better. And he did have some flashes of good gameplay, though along the way, I feel like he has some pretty big flaws. I feel like for one, like his social work is not the best, and he can definitely get himself into some trouble sometimes through like certain social quirks that he had. And at the same time, he also very much underestimated Bowie. He assumed that he had her in his back pocket when she was very much more with the Matt and Jag side. And obviously that led to him being taken out. That and also him just coming off as a pretty big threat by the end of it. So at the end of the day, I didn't feel like he had too much runway to an actual win, but he was still someone that I kind of enjoyed watching at points, which is why he is here at number 8. And with that, there are 7 players left in the game to talk about, and as usual, I'll be ranking them based on how likely I think they're to win based off their current game position. And we are actually about to have another double eviction, so obviously that has the potential to shake some things up. Though admittedly not to the same degree as the first double eviction, like obviously barring the fact that there was no technical elimination at that point. I feel like with the game dynamics sort of solidifying a bit, and with the behavior of certain players, there aren't as many options to be taken out here, though things could definitely shake up depending on the comp results. But number 7, we do have the person most likely to be evicted on Thursday night, and here we have Blue. And I had Blue second from the bottom on last week's ranking, namely due to the fact that she would have been the target last week, and at the same time, didn't really seem to care all that much that she was the target. I mean, she obviously won the veto, and even though she kind of recognized that she would have been the target there, she still decides to work alongside Matt and Jag due to her hatred of America and her wanting to simply outlast America. And that very much translated into this week, where, again, despite the fact that we had the same HOH who still wanted to target Blue, she was just more than happy to go up on the block again, thinking that she's the pawn to take on America here. And ultimately, that in itself is pretty bad, as she ends up losing the veto here, and she doesn't even know that she's a target yet, which is pretty bad on its own. And again, I feel like Blue has proven to be a pretty frustrating player, one that's just been defined by her hatred of Cory in America, more so than actually working to play her own game. And obviously, there were plenty of stuff before that, like her ratting out all of her alliances, her trying and kind of failing to play the middle for a lot of it. But obviously now, like her just being so willing to go up on the block, despite her clearly being the target again, her not even realizing that she's the target, is all pretty bad play. And she's probably going to go home now, which is a bit unfortunate. Though, if I'm being honest, like I don't really like Blue that much, so I guess it's kind of a win there. But again, she's pretty much done, which is why she's here at number 7. Now moving on to number 6, and honestly these next couple spots were all very hard to assess, as I feel like at this point, most of these players have pretty big holes in their game, either in terms of their short-term safety or their long-term safety. But at number 6, I did decide to go with the person I believe is the most likely to be evicted in this double, and here we have America. And obviously America is not a great spot. She is on the block here. She probably would have been the target had Blue won the veto, but obviously that didn't go through. But at the same time, she is still someone that people will be looking to take out. And while Jag obviously won't be able to play, I feel like if Jag wins the veto, then there's a shot that she could be on the block and she could be taken out that way. So obviously that's pretty bad that she doesn't have short-term safety. But she also doesn't have much of a shot of winning the game either, where even if she gets to the end, I don't really see how she wins a jury vote at this point. I feel like it'll be hard for me to see many people rallying to vote for her outside of Cory. But at the same time, I could still see Cory going for other people based off game. I feel like America is kind of a sitting duck at this point, and I feel like if she's not like the boot at this next double, then she is likely someone dragged to the end as a losing finalist. So I feel like it's not looking great for America at this point, which is why she's here number 6. Now moving on to number 5, and I consider putting this person below America. However, I feel like they're slightly safer, though that's not saying too much. And here we have Felicia. And I feel like Felicia played more actively bad this week compared to America, where the most notable case is her going up to Matt and Jag and telling them that Siri told Blue that she was the target coming to this week. Which isn't even true, as Siri didn't do that, and Blue still doesn't know that she's the target yet. And on top of that, like, Felicia's doing this for pretty misguided reasons, where she thinks that by doing this, it'll like allow her to overtake Suri within like Matt and Jag's Final Four plans, and that they'll take her deeper into the game. And at the same time, like, Felicia's doing this not under the assumption that she'll actually win, but more so to overtake Suri, which again is pretty bad on its own. It obviously makes it harder for Suri to get deeper into the game, but doesn't really help Felicia either. Like, Matt and Jag are still not talking about Felicia as someone they want to take too much deeper into the game. And I feel like outside of America, she's obviously one of the more likely targets coming into this double as well. Not as likely as America, though I could still very well see her going out there. So obviously it's pretty hard to assess. I did decide to go with America below Felicia simply because, one, she's on the block right now, and also I think she is a bit more likely to be taken out in this double compared to Felicia. But I feel like at this point, both of them are still kind of drawing dead. I feel like it's not looking great for either of them. And obviously there is still that aspect of Felicia kind of blowing up her game, but also taking Suri down with her, which is why she's here at number 5. Now we're moving on to number 4, and we have another player that's kind of drawing dead in terms of their win equity. However, I feel like they're a bit more likely to get deeper into the game than America or Felicia, and here we have Bowie Jane. And I feel like at this point, I've kind of lost a lot of my faith in Bowie Jane, where, for one, she didn't really do that much this week. She kind of just sat back. And I feel like at this point, she has pretty much made it known to everyone that she intends to work with Matt and Jag moving forward, which to me feels like a pretty big departure from what it seemed like things were going just a couple weeks ago when she was HOH, when she did win HOH and she did technically take out Cam, where I feel like that could have been a move on her resume. But I feel like since then, she's really backtracked and really made herself come off as a team player to the Matt and Jag side. And there's this pretty infamous moment right before the eviction last week, where obviously Cory was campaigning to her, telling her that Matt and Jag were not going to take her to Final 2, that they were not going to like allow her to win at the end. And Bowie should have accepted this a bit more, but instead she ends up getting very upset by it, so much so that she ends up going to Cory in America and telling them that, hey, this is upsetting me, please stop campaigning because this all makes me very upset. And to me, that was a terrible response to Cory's campaign here, as one, it makes it clear that she is an emotional player. She's someone that can't really grapple with difficult decisions, and she is someone that is more likely to latch on to these players than be her own player. But also, again, like, it's just a bad move to be taking Matt and Jag deeper into the game. These people that are not only better in comps, but also people that are more likely to outright win a jury vote. So I feel like through like her actions this week, Bowie has really tanked a lot of her jury chances, not just to Cory in America, but also just in general, to where at this point, I don't really feel like she's playing to win anymore. Where I felt like a couple weeks ago, there was a world where she could have been playing to win. But I feel like at this point, she's kind of drawing dead. The main reason I have her above American Felicia is that I feel like she's a bit safer coming into the double. Though even then, like, she's not entirely safe. Like, if America wins HOH, like Jag wins the veto, and then Bowie's the replacement nom, there is a world where she could go out in that spot over Matt, which is, again, not a very flattering situation for Bowie, obviously. So obviously, again, these bottom 3 are really hard to assess, which is why I have Bowie here at number 4. Now moving on to number 3, and I feel like if this were before a couple days ago, I probably would have had this person, kind of lower. But I feel like compared to the others, I feel like this person has more win equity. And here we have Suri. And I feel like this was actually a pretty bad week for Suri, where she's obviously one losing Blue, which is not ideal. Blue is someone that was a number for her moving forward and someone she could have potentially gotten on board. Though to be honest, considering the way Blue was acting, it's possible that had Blue won, she would have gone for America anyway, which isn't ideal. But still, I feel like losing Blue is pretty bad for Suri. And obviously, you had the Felicia stuff as well, where Felicia kind of tanks Suri's spot due to a misconception where Felicia thinks that Suri had told Blue that she was the target when she didn't. She simply just told her that she should maybe win the veto without actually fully admitting that Blue was a target there. But obviously, with this information, that causes Matt and Jag to kick Suri out of their final four plans, which is pretty bad. However, I feel like in recent days, it's kind of turned around to a degree, particularly with this one conversation that she had with Matt, saying that Matt might be open to taking a shot at Jag at Final Four, which is pretty interesting if you ask me. So I don't think Suri's entirely dead at this point. I still feel like she has more of a shot getting to the end than a lot of the people we already talked about, and obviously has more win equity than those people. But obviously, this was still a pretty bad week for her, all things considered, which is why I do have her here at number 3. Now moving on to number 2, and obviously this is a pretty weird placement considering that this person is not 100% safe coming into the double eviction, though I have some faith in this person to get through it, and here we have Jag, who has kind of made history here as being the first person to ever win back-to-back HOHs, barring like the final 3, as well as like seasons with Battle of the Block. Basically, he gets to be HOH 2 weeks in a row, which by itself, I must say, is a pretty bad decision, where the whole guise of it was the fact that he was allowed to compete in the HOH due to him being the invisible HOH, even though, again, like, everyone knew he was the invisible HOH last week, like, to the point where Cory was even, like, referencing it in his eviction speech. So the fact that he was allowed to compete at all is pretty ridiculous, especially considering that he was one of the better competitors on this season. But obviously he ends up winning both the HOH and the veto this week, which already puts him on track to potentially break the competition record, which had already been like tightly contested by Michael just last season, which is pretty crazy to think about. And again, like, I feel like if Jag were to break the record at this point, I don't think it'd be as impressive as Michael, considering that Jag has competed in way more comps to begin with, and also took him longer to even win a comp, compared to Michael, where it really wasn't until like this last 2 weeks that he really started to like go off at this point. But again, that's sort of all besides the point here. I actually think he played a bit better this week compared to last week, where I feel like last week he played pretty poorly with like the way that he went about targeting Blue to begin with, eventually coming around to Cory. And at the same time, I feel like he had pretty bad jury management with Cory in America, where he got so upset at America for obviously the way that she acted after the veto meeting, like in his reaction to her, like getting mad at him, where he saw it as her being disrespectful, and he kind of got like on a high horse to a degree, which I feel like is pretty unideal, obviously. But obviously it doesn't matter because he wins HOH next week, and obviously he's just back to where he was before. Now, coming into the double, he is in a weird spot. He obviously won't be able to play in the HOH in the double. And if America wins HOH, he's probably going to be the target in that spot, where both him and Matt are going to be up on the block there. However, considering that historically veto comps in doubles tend to be more physical, I think that gives Jag a massive advantage to win that veto and obviously get out of trouble there. And I feel like if he's able to get through that, then obviously he and Matt are going to be in a very solid spot moving forward, where obviously at that point, like, he has a lot of potential to just win out. Now, obviously, the other thing to bring up is the fact that Matt has talked with Siri about potentially targeting Jag at Final Four, which obviously would be pretty bad on its own. But again, I feel like a lot of Jag's placement on this power ranking is under the assumption that he can just win out from this point and obviously get around all that. So obviously that's playing a pretty big factor in why he's as high as he is. And again, he has a solid shot of getting to the end just by winning competitions. But with all that said, he still has some potential to be targeted moving forward, which is why I do have him here at number 2. And now, at number 1, the person I believe is the most likely to win Big Brother 25 right now is still Matt. And again, I feel like not much has really changed with Matt compared to last week. I will say the one concern that I have is that if Jag were to get to the end with him at this point, I think Jag might have more of a case to compete against Matt in a jury vote, considering that Jag has won more comps and considering that Jag has more things that he can say that he did actively. Whereas I feel like Matt has definitely played a bit more laid back and behind the scenes. I feel like that could open up a case where obviously Matt could struggle there, where even though the talk is that Matt and Jag are by far the best competitors of the people remaining, the reality is that Jag has been the one winning the most competitions. And while Matt has a lot of potential to take that spot that Jag has if Jag were to be taken out, I mean, I feel like the fact that Matt currently doesn't have as many comp wins as Jag could raise some concerns there. Though at the same time, I feel like Jag is way more likely to be targeted in the future compared to Matt, obviously. Where I feel like coming to the double, I feel like Jag will very much be targeted by the likes of America if she were to win HOH. And while Matt would go up on the block in that spot, I don't think he would actually go home in any situation there. Where even if Jag wins the veto, the most likely replacement in that spot would be Bowie. And I think given the way Felicia's been talking about taking Matt and Jag deeper into the game, there's a very strong chance that Bowie would be taken out over Matt in that spot, which would be pretty ridiculous if you ask me, but that's just the way things are playing out at this point. And I still feel like Matt is probably in a better spot to get deeper into the game based off his relationships with compared to Jag. I feel like that's still a very big touching point that I have. I feel like Matt remains the clear frontrunner to win the game based off his potential compatibility as well as his target level compared to Jag. So I feel like for those reasons, there wasn't really anything this week that made me really knock Matt down too much, which is why he is here at number 1. And there we go, that will do it for this week's video. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, really helps out with the channel. And I'll be back again next week to update the power rankings again, so you can stay tuned for that. I am still covering Survivor 45 as well as The Amazing Race 35, so you can expect weekly power rankings of those shows. I am now on Patreon, so if you want to consider supporting the channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. And if you haven't already, you can also join the Discord server by clicking the link in the description. There's a lot of stuff coming your way, but for now, that's the video. See ya.